If you're an Airbnb or short-term rentals, you know that guessing can cost you thousands. And the number one thing that people guess on that we've come across is the market that they're going to plant their flag and start their first Airbnb. We tell all the people we work with, if we can get you confident about the market that you're picking and you know that it will perform, and we can show you that other units are performing there, you can with confidence get a lease in that market, get it on Airbnb, start renting, and know that even if you just perform average, you can turn a profit and then go in and absolutely crush it and make way more than, just barely getting by. And for a while, we were stubborn and only used our hard work, data scraping, and internal use of Airbnb to get all the market research that we wanted. But as we scaled, got more listings, started helping more people, we had to find a faster, more efficient, better way to aggregate all this data fast. And we thought, hey, when we first started, we used AirDNA. We moved away from it because of issues we were having. And I thought, I guarantee you I've gotten better in, 4 years. I'm sure AirDNA has gotten better as well. So we got on, spoke with a rep there, looked at all the new features, and man, we were blown away. And we're excited to announce that we are now officially using AirDNA again. It is an integral tool in our market research. And as the number one data platform in the STR industry, it kind of feels like a little bit of a no-brainer, to be honest. So today, I'm going to walk you through kind of the revolution we had, how AirDNA works, how it gets the data, why it's trusted, and how we're using it to make smarter, more profitable decisions for not only our Airbnb business, but everyone else that we help. AirDNA has been tracking over 16 million properties across 120,000 markets worldwide. Why? Sorry, I just watched Step Brothers the other day. Oh, by the way, they do this every single day now. This is the data engine behind the biggest investors, massive hosts, small hosts. Pretty much anyone that is in the STR space has heard of AirDNA. Most people have used it once or twice. And we're now one of the million and change users that have access to the most trusted data in market research in Airbnb. We are huge on clarity. There's so much noise out there on what to do, what you need to do, all that stuff. And this is a perfect example of a noise reduction. So AirDNA is clarity for market research. It takes the complexity of analyzing short-term rental markets and makes it clear to the end user and gives them what I like to call a warm and fuzzy, that when they pick a market, it's going to go well and it's going to perform. Every day, their data scientists are pulling data from Airbnb and VRBO listings, tracking things like the average daily rate, occupancy, and the revenue potential. Instead of guessing if a market or even a property is going to make money, AirDNA is now kind of showing us real time what we can expect and having us, make an informed decision for that educated guess that you need before you pull the trigger on getting a property. But enough talking, let's dive in, and I will show you firsthand on our new account that we got up and running with AirDNA, the stuff that we're doing, for us at least. All right, here we are, and here I am in a tiny little circle. Okay, let's do it. So we'll start, this is the homepage. Cool. It has, a breakdown of everything, your last searches and properties and rentalizer reports, all that good stuff. But let's break down what everyone thinks, this is what AirDNA is all about, and is honestly one of the sickest features. It's the Market Explorer. So this allows us to find the best markets globally. We can zoom in to any city, even down to the sub-market level, and see exactly what's performing. No more relying on rumors or old data. And let's say you don't even know where to begin. What market to go to? Okay, well, if you want to be crazy, you can even see what sub-markets have the best market score, which is wild. There's a lot of stuff to go through here, but I'll tell you how we use it. Yes, okay, you can randomly go through and there's a lot of data, but you don't want to get sucked into the analysis paralysis. We go to, a market that we want to go into. So I'm going to pick a market that we're intimately familiar with, the DC area. So it gives you the macro stats for the entire region, shows you some listings, and shows you some properties that are for sale, which is a cool tool if you want to buy. And you can add it to a comp set. If you have a comp set, we'll get into that later. But the market score, and it's similar for submarket, but they break it down, and you want to learn more about the What does it say? Let's go here. Cool. The market score goes over all that. What is a market score? That's a breakdown. That's probably worth knowing. So yeah, that way you're not just looking at numbers, but it's broken down on these metrics: investability, rental demand, revenue growth, seasonality, and regulation. All these things you want to be familiar with when you're getting into a region for sure, but these are the numbers too you want to look at: the annual revenue, the occupancy rate, the average daily rate, and the RevPAR. Now, I will tell you, revenue to me is the most important. A lot of people focus on occupancy. At the end of the day, I care about revenue. But I also know that this is such a large span, and I'm going to go into a submarket. And you can look at all the submarkets from the region, but I'm going to go to the submarket that we luckily just happened to put our first Airbnb in. Was it luck? No, we did use AirDNA to find a good submarket. So this is the submarket that we are in, Alexandria, more specifically, Old Town Alexandria. So here we go, the stats. I'm gonna break it down what each facet is here so you can see. So here's the overview. That's great. You can go to the listings and there's stats and listings. How many active listings are in the market? And it's important that you clear all of that so you can get the actual amount of listings. So here we go. Here's the total active listings in the market. Listings by channel, the breakdown, the size of the listings, the availability. So things to notice. This is what we like to use it for, right? Hi, how many, there's not a lot of 5+ bedrooms. So if you have a really sick one, you have, even honestly, if you have a 4-bedroom or higher, you're competing with 15% of listings. You can do much better. The availability by nights, okay. The rental type, most of it is entire home. All other stuff's here. The listing by cancellation policy, you can use that to inform your cancellation policies. The minimum stay, okay. What do most listings have for amenities? There's a lot of data here. Now, if you also want to filter it by, amount of rooms and stuff to get the comp set down more, or to see stats that are closer to what you're looking. So if you want to get a 4-bedroom, you don't want to look at stats for studios, that's going to throw things off. So that's listings. Occupancy. Cool. So as someone who's intimately familiar with the Alexandria market, I can tell you this lovely graph, it does represent the general occupancy rate. And another sick thing that you want to look at is booking lead times to see how far out in the future people are booking your property. And the average length of stay is good to know. Affects how often you're going to be doing turnovers. But when we go through these things, all these graphs change variables to things you want. And there's a lot of stuff here. In the beginning, you don't have to get super crazy with it, but you can go through and see, how many people, all this stuff. There's a lot of data here. Now you can know anything you ever want to know about occupancy. Revenue, there you go. The average revenue in the entire place, if it's a house, if it's an apartment, what the average listings earned, bad bedroom, unique stay, B&B, apartment, the distribution of the revenue, which I think is the most important one, because the average, you're getting the average when you're looking at these numbers, right? If you're managing your property professionally, you should be in the 75th and shooting for the 90th percentile. So now you can see, you're seeing what everyone's making, but you can factor out, I don't want to know what the bottom 25% is doing. And you might even be crazy and be like, I don't want to know what the 90% is doing, because I just want to, for my own conservative numbers, I want to see, hey, what the 50th to 70th percentile doing, because that gives me a more accurate representation of what I think I can make, and then I can just try and crush it and get 90. If you're hoping to get 25%, you're effed. Rates. A great tool to see what people are charging. And once again, you can go through and see what the average daily rate is, and you can use this to inform your pricing strategy as well. Even if you're using a pricing software like PriceLabs like we use, it's still always good to see what other people are charging real time. And this is just a new way to get all this data. I don't remember them having this when we had it years ago. So that's pretty cool. All right, RevPAR, the revenue per available room. An important statistic for you to understand. Easy math is you basically multiply the occupancy by the average daily rate, but it shows you more how the rooms are performing, because the average daily rate is when it's booked, but now we got to talk about, what is the room getting even when it's not booked, all that other stuff. So hey, get into your RevPAR stuff if you want to get crazy and spicy. I'll be honest with you, you probably don't need to focus on this in the beginning. Let's just focus on revenue and occupancy. Revenue mainly, but occupancy to understand the booking for the seasons. Sure, and then it shows the top markets. So there you go. And it shows you the top short-term rentals. You can add them to comp sets. You can look at how they're doing, get an idea about your competition. I would go on to Airbnb and back this up by looking at who is showing up first. So and then if you want to get crazy and you want to buy a property, and you can go through and look at properties that are available as well. And it'll give you an estimation of the rent. Cool. Rentalizer. So I'm going to just find a property that I'm like, you know what? We have a listing on that property. Let's take a look, see, plug it in. No, 1 bed, 1 bath. Sorry, that's how it's going to be. But guess what? That's not that bad. Here's a quick little, market research math that we're going to do. 76% occupancy, pretty good. 162 average daily rate, pretty good. Projected revenue means nothing to you unless you know what your expenses are. Don't worry about these expenses, the financial calculator, that's great. This shows you the projected over the year. Let me see right now if I feel like this is accurate. Yeah, I feel like that's not horrible representation of the market. You probably could do better in February if you really put out. Okay, but it shows you the comparable amenities. It shows you how the annual projected revenue changed over time. You can update all your stuff in here. If you're gonna buy, property tax, all the stuff, you can put all up in here. Furnishings to get an idea. You can get all crazy with that to help run your numbers when you do something. But I would look at the comps to see, because that's what's feeding these numbers. And you see what these units are doing. Some do good, some do more. Oh, hey, look at that. That's our listing. That's one of our listings. So that's pretty close. So I'd look at that and I'd say, okay, why is this one doing good and this one's doing 28 and the pictures are, there you go. So there's things you got to make a decision. But you take the projected revenue and then you divide by 12, you get the monthly revenue, and then you see, hey, can I, get the goal is to shoot for 2.5 times the rent. So can I hit that? And what is important for this is the comp sets. So cool thing, this is the comp set that we created for Alexandria. So cool thing here, my comps for the area I created this comp list, and it is for 1 bedrooms in the area all the way up to as many bedrooms. So we want to understand our price tiers, and that will inform the comps. Well, I don't want to view all because we're not budget or economy. We're going to go with mid-scale, and we have some upscale, but I would say mid-scale is where we're going to be at, and that will change what you're doing. And we're going to go accommodates 1 to 4. I'll go studio to 1 bedroom. All right, now we have the comp set. All right, now we have the comps updated. Okay, so we've updated our comps. And then what we can do is I like to go through and actually click the listings. I'll go on Airbnb and see how long they've been host evolve and go through and see how they've been doing, all that stuff. And if I see for some reason, a listing that's not on Airbnb anymore, or a listing that's not, I don't want to compare in a comp, I can just delete it and it's gone now. It's gone forever. So you can do stuff like that where I'll go through and I'll see free parking, Duke. I look at that. Oh yeah. And I go through and you can delete them. That's great. And you can make your own. And AirDNA will build it out for you first, and then you can customize it as you want. Now, there is a variety, if you look over here on the bottom left, of tools where you can now host through uplisting your property on AirDNA. So that's a cool thing. We use Guesty personally, but this is like a one-stop shop. You can use it all together if you want it. And their new PMS integrates all of that, and it's a pretty good deal. So if you're like, hey, I don't want to get a bunch of softwares, not a bad thing. So when you find a market through the market research and you understand Rentalizer to look at a property, and you can control your comps to really give you the data that is accurate to what you're looking for, you now see how you can create confidence that you can find the right market and the right property for you in your market with your Airbnb business, which is probably why it is literally on their, presentation when they say grow faster with better short-term rental data, because that's just what it is. And if you want to get a start at this and get AirDNA going for you up and running, what I'm going to do is include our link to AirDNA below. You will get 10% off your subscription if you use that link. But even more important, if you use that link and you let me know and you go through and get the AirDNA, I'll give you a full training on how we use AirDNA, like I'm talking down in the weeds training, or maybe even hop on a call with you and break it down for your market in your situation, because everyone's different. We're all little beautiful snowflakes, very different. Just kidding. It's pretty much the same framework for everyone. So if it can work for Bill out in Arkansas, it can work for Tom in California. Same principles, way different markets, but hey, whatever. So if that sounds good to you, click the link below and you can get access to AirDNA for 10% off and some free training on AirDNA as well. I hope that was helpful. Catch you guys next time.